Hello, one and all, and welcome to the A2theK Wrestling Show. We are here to talk about Money in the Bank 2021, the results, the fume, everything in between. Anthony,
The fume in the room.
the
Go on.
fume in the room. Tell us instant reaction, Money in the Bank. What are your thoughts?
I think it was okay with some questionable results, and I think a lot of people are blowing it way out of proportion because the crowds are back and they feel good.
See, it is interesting. I think a lot of people have said this is it. This is what WWE needed to be. 5 out of 5, top tier booking.
When
And
people match of the year, pay-per-view of the year contender and all sorts I've seen, and it's like
yeah,
I don't think people realize the implication of a lot of these results.
yeah,
And that's why, because I'm just not just looking at like there was a great feel to it. It was a great pay-per-view. It was enjoyable. I always enjoy Money in the Bank anyway, because even a bad Money in the Bank's still worth watching. Do you know what I mean? There's just that kind of giving match. Even like I've said, even the worst Royal Rumble's still a Royal Rumble, so it's fucking fun, right? Similar concept that you're never going to get a bad one. You're just going to get a worse one than others. And for me, the crowds are back. It's a nice gimmicky or two nice gimmicky matches, and all round a decent enough card. So what's not to like? But calling it like pay-per-view of the year contender, giving it 4 and 5 out of 5, I think it's overhype, and I think that's because people were so enamored with the crowd being back and the atmosphere just being so different because the crowds are back. It's an overreaction, Carl. It's an overreaction. But let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you about. Go on, sorry.
I happen to agree.
Good.
So, yeah, I
As you
agree.
should, Carl. So should we run through the
Overreaction.
card and then run through why we feel like this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. So as far as the card goes, Carl, we had a pre-show match, which was the SmackDown Tag Team titles with the Mysterios going up against the Usos. And what better way to punish the recent DUI of Jimmy Uso by giving him a gold belt? So the Usos won that one. So now they're tag champions. We saw the women's Money in the Bank match, so featured Alexa, Liv, Selena, Nikki Cross, Naomi, Asuka, Natalia, and Tamina. And to a few people's shock, mine included, Nikki took the win on this one. So then we follow that on with the Raw Tag Team titles on the line. AJ and Omos going up against the Viking Raiders with AJ and Omos retaining. We saw the WWE title following up after that with Bobby Lashley going up against Kofi Kingston in a absolutely no shock at all. Bobby Lashley retaining the title. We saw the women's title on the line. Rhea Ripley going up against Charlotte Flair, with Charlotte Flair taking the win and taking the championship and giving the middle finger to the crowd. Nice one, Charlotte. Admittedly, that was kind of funny. We saw the men's Money in the Bank match, Carl. We saw Kevin Owens, Riddle, Shinsuke, Ricochet, John Morrison, Big E, Seth, and Drew McIntyre all involved in the match, and we saw Big E taking the win. And then we closed the night out, Carl, with the Universal title on the line. We saw Roman Reigns going up against Edge, with Roman Reigns retaining and taking the win. So that was the card, right? Now, I don't know how you want to do this. Do you want to do it in a typical highlights no shites, or do you want to talk about why it was? Yeah, I'll tell you what. What made it great, Carl. We'll do highlights.
Well, do you know what? I think it might make sense due to the prediction series that we did to go through match by match and just see how much each of them lined up to our expectations. What do you think?
Okay, I'm totally cool with that. So let's talk about the tag titles, Carl. I didn't really have much of an investment in this. I don't even know if it was in the prediction series because it was a pre-show match.
So it was.
Okay,
Um,
cool. I think I might have predicted Mysterios.
you predicted the Usos,
Did I? Oh, must have been.
and that was something which you gained a valuable point on because
Okay, yeah,
Instagram
I was getting
and
battered
myself
otherwise.
happened to think it was the Mysterios. So
So
interesting
I
that
called it right,
yeah, of
but
course you did. You knew all
I'll
along,
be
right?
honest. Like I, it felt right. I actually didn't think they'd do it, and I joked about it before, but I didn't think they'd do it because of the whole DUI incident and potential maybe suspension or whatever following that once the storyline was dealt with Roman. But I always thought they were going to do this where they get the gold and either potentially Roman loses the gold or Roman has the gold and they've got all the gold. Do you know what I mean? Similar to what he did with the hair business very briefly, because they're just the hair business, aren't they? But on SmackDown.
Yeah.
I'm joking. It's a total difference.
No,
So
I mean,
that's
to
where
be
I was coming
fair,
from with it.
to be fair, you're right. For me, I thought like there's no way they will put the title on him. And yeah, here we are. So
Yeah,
it seems
and
in today's
it,
world, you can go out there and drive a car
you know,
intoxicated
very dangerously with the potential to kill someone that he very luckily didn't, but
and get a belt.
driving on the road like a maniac. So,
So there you go.
well, yeah, you end up
So yeah.
a world champion, a tag team champion with
Yeah.
WWE. That's what you need to do.
So that is precisely the reason I thought it would not be him, but here we are.
No, totally agree. But for me, I didn't have a particular investment or issue with the result of this match or this match at all. I wasn't overly big on the Mysterios getting the belts, but I was thinking, well, at least something's happening with them because before that, you could have honestly forgotten who had them. Um, I think it'll be interesting to see. The good thing that could come from it is the fact that Roman really didn't want them to win. He had a big issue with it when like Jimmy come back and they were like, let's go for the gold and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see the interaction after this now, whether it's going to be, they've all got the gold, let's celebrate, or whether Roman's going to resent them discreetly for it. So I'm intrigued.
Mm.
So let's talk about the women's Money in the Bank, Carl.
So
I'm going to come.
This one was interesting because you and I happened to think it would be Alexa.
Yep.
Picking up the win. Instagram thought it would be Liv Morgan, who surprisingly and massively in her favour. The fans were fucking booming for Liv.
Well, I don't know if you, I didn't really have a lot of good things to say about it on SmackDown, but she was getting a good crowd reaction from the fans on SmackDown, and she wasn't even in a match; she was in commentary,
Yeah.
but they were behind her when the brawl kicked off. So you could see she's getting the fans behind her. Like,
this was something where you see it and you go, fucking hell, she is going to be a champ now, because like there's no way they can't do it. Like the fans are proper into it right now. So yeah, it's a shame that she wasn't given the opportunity to win in this pay-per-view, but at the same time, I don't think anyone expected the outcome that we actually got. I think
I mean, how do you feel about the outcome? Because I'll be honest, straight out the gate, I wasn't, I'm not thrilled with it, and I've nothing against Nikki, but I just. And all right, let's be honest, we kind of know where this goes as well. But I wasn't overly thrilled with. I don't think they're going to book any sort of good championship run for Nikki with that gimmick. And that's nothing against Nikki. She's an incredibly talented person. She so deserves the title win. But I worry the way WWE tend to book these things. And, Queen Charlotte's got the belt, so we're probably going to end up with 700 matches.
What do you mean title win? She won the Money in the Bank. Yes, yes.
Well, come on, Carl. Let's look at our crystal balls and look into the future, and we know she's going to cash in and win, probably.
Well, yeah.
No, I worry about any sort of future for that potential title run. There you go.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how WWE are going to go about booking that as a gimmick. Like when you go up against the likes of Charlotte and Rhea Ripley and how that superhero thing's going to work out. What I do potentially hope is that maybe it'll lead to a feud between Alexa and Nikki. Like that, I think that's the best booking you can get out of it in this whole good versus evil thing. So there could be something from it, maybe.
That for me is the end goal. I think I would love to see Alexa versus Nikki. They've got so much history built up between the two of them, that it writes itself. I think Nikki, spoilers as Anthony's has already alluded to. Nikki then goes on to cash in that Money in the Bank the following night and win the title. So for that reason alone, even though I was shocked and flabbergasted by the win, I am made up for it. I think. Holy shit.
I still, because it was Charlotte, I still have this horrible fear because it's Charlotte that there's going to be a Charlotte rematch. And I call it Charlotte rematch because people aren't entitled to do matches unless you're Charlotte. And we could see the following Raw just totally undo that as well. So I'm going to hold my breath for at least a couple of weeks.
That is entirely possible. But I think for someone like Nikki, who, Mick Foley today posted a tweet which was scathing in the worst way, but right at the same time, saying that for anyone who was unattractive, unathletic, blah blah blah, describing all the worst possible qualities that you could describe Nikki with, to go on to win the title was inspirational. And Mick got a lot of flack for that by saying like, what, you're not really saying anything positive here, but
He was trying to.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I get where he was coming from. Like, I get why a lot of people disagree with that, because she's not unattractive. She's just not your typical like bombshell that WWE like to book. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I get what he was trying to come from. He probably just didn't use the right words there.
No. Yeah, I
Because
mean,
he's liking it to himself, isn't he? Because he was an against the grain champion. He wasn't what
yeah.
you typically, aesthetically, he wasn't the typical person you'd book as a champion, or WWE certainly would. And I think that's what he was getting at, really, more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, he is trying to draw comparisons to when he won the title for the first time, and WCW was like, Mick Foley's won the belt, and that's going to put butts in seats, and that
Exactly.
really resonated with him for so long. And so, he is the classical underdog, and I think Nikki is as well. Yeah, his articulation of what that means isn't fantastic.
I like that.
But...
I like when you put it like that, though. I like that. Like, yeah, she is like a Foley in that sense.
Yeah.
Like, he's definitely not worth it, right?
No.
He was definitely going to get some backlash for that. But she is like a modern day Foley in that sense. Like, she is like the underdog and not the typical champion, not the typical champion WWE book by any means.
Yeah.
In actual fact, she won it from their typical champion. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, like,
I think if you and I were,
like
were like, if someone said to us, would you have Nikki be the champion if it was via Money in the Bank and she only won it for a brief period? We'd be like, fucking yes, we would, because she's gonna be champion and we want Nikki to be champion. So, Killian, who, hopefully we will have on the show at some point in a couple of weeks. He has been obviously blown away by obviously Nikki's triumph and what she's achieved, and obviously the fan reaction to it as well. So it's amazing. I think everybody shat on her gimmick change to be a superhero, and everyone was like, this spells the end. And literally a couple of weeks later, she's now the champion. So
yeah,
how
look, at the end
long
of the day,
keeps it for?
The gimmick is definitely more goofy and more cartoony than what she was doing before. And personally, I preferred her previous gimmick. But at the same time, she's doing what she needs to do to get over, and get over not just with the crowd but with the management. And fuck it, she's now a champion, so it's worked, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And by no means the pick I was expecting from the women's Money in the Bank, but I'm not particularly aggrieved by it either.
True that.
Well, there's loads of different ways I would have preferred it to go, so I'm not going to lie and say that I was totally happy with this win. But again, we'll see how it goes. She definitely deserves it. So moving on to another match that we probably don't really have much investment in, Carl, the Raw Tag Team titles.
Mm-hmm.
I personally would have liked to have seen Viking Raiders have a run with the titles, but they're obviously not done with AJ and Omos as a tag team, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, so looking at what we all had on the prediction series, I think everybody, Instagram, yourself, me, we all had AJ and Omos picking for win.
I think that was very much expected. It's a shame because the Viking Raiders, I think, it'd be nice to excel them a bit with that, but I don't think anyone would ever see them winning right now.
No. It felt a bit like out of nowhere, I think. Something needs to happen, which is going to set up Omos turning on AJ or vice versa. That's going to be like the end of the tag team. So this wasn't it, but I think it will be soon.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So again, not a lot to say on that one, but I do need to moan about the WWE title card. Bobby Lashley going up against Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
And I have no issue with the result. Bobby Lashley won, as it should have been. But this was a waste of a title match. I understand they don't want to put another Drew match in there, but nobody expected Kofi to win this, let's be honest. Well, let's ride the coattails of the previous Kofi Mania, but like this man got decimated by Brock Lesnar in a matter of seconds when he was champion. I'm not even sure he lasted a minute. May have lasted a minute, I don't know. But he did not last long at all against Brock Lesnar. And we're trying to book Bobby Lashley as a big, strong monster. So are we going to realistically have Kofi stand any chance at all?
No.
It's just so unlikely. I was thinking the only way Kofi might win this is through some like I joked before, but some interruption, like we see a surprise Keith Lee come back and Bobby gets screwed over by the new hair business. That I could have seen that happen, but we didn't see that happen, and Bobby Lashley has retained as it should be. But kind of a waste of a slot, really. Did this matter at all? This was the WWE title, and this was probably where I would have gone for a piss.
I think a lot of people are pissed about the outcome. I think the fact that
Why?
Kofi was dominated so bad to the point where it's like, well, because obviously Kofi's got a massive following. He was the underdog at, WrestleMania like a couple of years ago. So, people want to see him win again.
But that
Bobby
rage should have
squashed him.
been when he was the champion and Brock Lesnar made him embarrassingly lose. That should have been the rage they had then.
Yeah.
I was expecting it this time.
Yeah. Well, I think they've done that on purpose. I think the fact that Kofi lost in such like dominant fashion was to set Bobby up to be like, well, okay, who can possibly beat me? And unfortunately, we won't talk about it now for spoilers reasons. Anthony's fuming.
I'm fucking fuming.
Who might end up going on to face him. So, but yeah, I think overall it was a bit of a. I don't know. I didn't mind it. I think a lot of fans did. I think they were like, well, fucking hell, Kofi deserved a chance. I think we all knew that Kofi was never going to win. And this was a way to finally cement Bobby as like okay, this is a guy who dominated a former champ in like a few minutes.
Yeah, but not like a real one. No, like honestly, this was just a filler, and the WWE title should not be treated like that. This was a filler match, very much a filler match for me. I didn't need to see this. I knew what the result was going to be. Didn't really care about the match itself, and I could have gone and made a cup of tea in this time. It didn't really matter, and I shouldn't feel like that about this, but I just had zero investment in the Kofi match because I knew exactly where they were booking it from the off.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even try and blag you and have like Xavier Woods get the win on Raw the previous week. It's like, well, yeah, no, it's not going to mean nothing. Bobby's still going to win this shit. But whatever. Waste of fucking time. Right, women's title, Carl. Rhea Ripley. This might be a polarized one because I know a lot of people have been arguing this fucking hell over this last few days. Rhea Ripley going up against Charlotte, and Charlotte took the win. What did we predict, Carl?
So, we predicted as a collective that we were going to see Anthony said Charlotte, Instagram said Rhea Ripley, I said Charlotte, and just goes to show right. We know more than Instagram.
But the thing is, right, I said it through like, what's the word, pessimistic, negative fucking mindset of going, typical WWE, they'll probably book Charlotte to win again. I wanted to be wrong.
See, I said it based on the fact that we've seen it so many times that it had to lead to that. Like there was
not enough though, because there's going to be a rematch. Yeah.
Well, we know how that goes.
But yeah,
yeah.
How did you feel about Charlotte's behavior with the crowd? Because the crowd were chanting Becky and she gives them the middle finger and stuff like that. And I honestly don't think Becky helped this because Becky put a tweet up or an Instagram pic up or whatever. And she was like, oh, I sure hope somebody doesn't interrupt the women's Money in the Bank match and stuff. I was like, why are you hinting that you're going to come back when you know you're not?
Becky is a massive troll. So fair play. I think everybody kind of bought into it. But honestly, I think this was one of the matches of the night. And that is probably a weird thing to say because we've seen it so many times. But honestly, this was the best match we've had.
You're totally right. Like, this was a match that surprisingly the crowd started out not liking this because we've seen it so many times. And we actually got to see in real time them turn the crowd around. Towards the end of this, they were chanting, "This is awesome." Yeah. Like, we got to see that. And there's a reason for that. And it was a banger of a match between the two of them. The issue I had with it was the result. Yeah. I think that a lot of people are arguing this because like Rhea Ripley's really young. She hasn't been buried by this loss. She's got plenty of time to build herself up and get the championship. She shouldn't have won it too soon anyway, etc., etc., etc. The fact is, she was the champ, and I'm sick of seeing Charlotte as the champ. So I wanted her to retain. wanted her to retain. I did not predict that, but I wanted her to retain. And I totally agree, by the way. I'm not going to be one of these people who's going, oh, they've buried Rhea Ripley. They haven't. She's got plenty of time to build herself back up again. It's purely down to fact. Do we need to see Charlotte Flair win the belt again?
Yeah.
That's the main issue I've got with this. Like, I'm sick of seeing her with the fucking belt.
You know, it's hard, I think, because Rhea Ripley hasn't lived up to her, she hasn't lived up to the hype on the main roster, in my opinion.
I mean, she's only fought Charlotte, so it's hard to.
Yeah, but I mean, still, I think she has got on there and she's been doing terrible promos. She's been reading off scripts, and she has appeared worse on the main roster than she did on NXT. So
I'll give you that.
I think now she needs to take the time and just go away and just fucking build herself and be ready for the main
Well,
roster.
there's a massive belief of that, that people wanted her to lose, or people are behind the Charlotte win because of that they don't think she was ready to win the champion, like to debut on the main roster and become the champion so quickly. They actually thought it was rather damaging, and I can kind of get that point.
Yeah, I think they will bring back Becky at some point, because obviously
and we get to see Becky go up against Charlotte. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that is the top feud. Like, name a better feud right now in the women's division.
I can't, because they don't build any.
Well, yeah. So at least we've got history there and stuff, and then who knows, Sasha might get involved down the line.
You've changed, man. You used to be bitter.
Oh, I am. Don't you worry. I'm still bitter. But yeah, I think obviously Charlotte's champ now, and so they have to do something to get the belt back on her face, and so it's going to be Becky or Sasha, in my opinion. And Liv Morgan, I am upset for. I think she should have potentially won it and cemented
The
it
thing
as
is,
a
like,
challenger. But
there is still potential for Liv, because obviously the Money in the Bank went to a Raw superstar, so they need to do something for the women's division on SmackDown. So that's not to say Liv is out of the picture. She just hasn't got the Money in the Bank briefcase.
True. Very true.
Oh, it's true.
It's damn true.
So I think that's all I need to say about the women's title match, Carl. It was a really good match. I can't deny that. And I probably shouldn't be too hard on negative. I just wasn't overly thrilled with the win. Men's Money in the Bank, Carl.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed with this. Again, largely down to the win. I won't beat around the bush. Big E took the win. And I just can't fathom how they got to that decision. Largely down to the fact that he had, as far as I'm concerned, a terrible run with the IC title. He didn't prove that he was ready for that kind of position, and now he's got the Money in the Bank briefcase. I don't even know what he's done to earn it. And also, a lot of people want to see him in that position, but is he ready? I felt like he proved he wasn't, over the last few months. But
I think for the fans, if we look at the predictions, obviously Instagram went with Big E, so fair play. Anthony, you went with Rollins.
That was part of my whole concept in my head. And I know I shouldn't book based on the idea I would book, but the whole concept in my head is Rollins would get the Money in the Bank, and Edge would beat Reigns, and then we'd get Edge versus Rollins.
Yeah.
That was the plan in my head.
That is far too sophisticated for WWE booking. So I also went for Big E, so I got this one right. I am not a fan of Big E in any way, shape, or form. I think anyone who has watched the show in the last couple of weeks, months, knows that I was fucking vehemently against him as IC champion, and the fact that he's got the Money in the Bank, it irks me, to be honest. I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. This is the thing. He was given the opportunity to run with the IC title after being pulled away from the faction. He was great in the New Day. He was that great character to those three, to that trio. By himself, it wasn't working. They give him the chance to run as a solo star, and as far as I can see, he didn't do anything to prove that it worked. So I can't understand how they got to the decision of going, well, let's drop the IC title and let him win the Money in the Bank. I just don't see how that ever became a thing.
No. It's so weird. I think, yeah, he's got charisma, he's got personality, but he is not deserving of any championship ever. I can't place it, but he's just not the right fit. It's almost like, and no offense to Santino, because I love Santino, but he would never win the main title because he is a comedy gimmick, and unfortunately,
Yeah,
that
no,
is
I
what
get that.
Biggie
Some
is.
characters are like they put themselves in a position where you can never realistically see them be champion, and I
No,
think that is probably the position Big E is in.
yeah. So I was
Selden
fuming.
forced the fucking belt on him, like. But look at it now, right? I think this is the reason that I think people got a bit overhyped with Money in the Bank. It's like, oh, it's a pay-per-view of the year and all this. Like, okay, so where are we gonna go with this? Do you want to see Big E beat Roman Reigns? Do you
Mm.
even want to see that feud? Anyone? No.
Nope, nope.
Fucking pointless, then, money. Just I don't get it. Like to me, it was such a dodgy win. Like there's a load of options there. From like, okay, realistically, I would never have had Shinsuke, Big E, John Morrison, or Ricochet win, right? But you could have had a Drew win, a Seth win. I would have even been happy with a Kevin Owens win or a surprise Riddle.
Mm.
Wouldn't have minded either.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Fully agree. I think Big E was the almost like a scapegoat. It was like, some fans want this, so
This feels a little bit like Otis all over again, though, doesn't it?
yeah, defo. I
They'll never
can't
know when
see
to
this
cash it
going
because they don't want him going
anywhere.
up against Roman. He'll keep it for too long, and some shenanigans will have to fucking happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about obviously Goldberg coming back and challenging either Bobby or Roman, and doing that kind of thing. And I think Big E has made it very clear that he wants to face Goldberg. So could this
You know
be
the
the way
best
it
the
happens?
best thing they could do, to be honest, to make this work for Big E is to actually, because I don't think there's any like, is there any stipulation that he has to challenge his own brand?
No.
So this could be his way of getting back onto Raw. They should put the New Day back together. That's when he thrives.
Mm,
He could be the champ with New Day, and they can support him.
yeah.
And that could, like they did it with Kofi, so they could try it with that. Have him go back over to Raw and either challenge Bobby or challenge Goldberg once he beats Bobby, because he probably fucking will. I can't even be that negative about Goldberg. He come in, he took the L from McIntyre.
Yeah, I
Fair
mean, to
play.
be fair, but that is the biggest failure of Big E. Like, they went, let's make him a single star, put him on SmackDown on his own, and he's done nothing. Like, he thrives in the New Day, as you've
Yeah.
said. So,
Well, this is the mistake they made, that they didn't try and build him while he was in the faction, and then it was a natural pull away. They got rid of him, the faction, and then went, right, you're on your own, kid.
yeah,
Like they didn't test the waters at all while they were still a team. But
no.
hey ho. So yeah, I mean, we might see some potential from it if he can go over to Raw and challenge on the Raw side and essentially force himself onto the Raw brand, that he's back with his teammates as well.
Hmm.
All good fun. But yeah, that's probably the worst win of the night for me. Wasn't keen on that at all. And then let's talk about the Universal title, Carl. And is it a surprise ending or just something that made the crowd pop? I don't know. I'm going to be a bit negative about that one as well. But we saw Roman Reigns going up against Edge. Honestly, I can't remember what I predicted, but it's probably the right call. I might have predicted Edge because of the idea I had in my head, but I don't think it was a bad call keeping the belt on Roman.
Yeah, so you did predict Edge.
Yeah, again, I had that agenda where we'd end up seeing Rollins Edge.
Mm.
Not really
Which
bad.
obviously makes sense. I think there was no way they were going to drop it to Edge at this point.
All right, smart ass.
Just being the smart that I am. Roman is such a fucking, you know, dynasty um, in his own right, and deservedly so. I think he has come from being like, oh God, Roman Reigns, to the fucking main event that everyone is behind. And if you listened at Money in the Bank, he was getting fucking cheered like
Yeah,
ridiculously. So, people love a heel, and conversely, we haven't spoke about this, but it fucking irked me is that Drew got fucking booed out the building, and
mm.
it rubbed me the wrong way, honestly, because
It's a disrespect because he's not become a heel yet, and he carried that fucking company during the pandemic era when it was so fucking difficult to get over or read the crowd at all, and they
Mm.
shouldn't be booing him.
People are
It's not
looking at
fair.
him like a Roman or like a Cena, where he's being forced down our throats. And unfortunately, the blame lies with WWE because they haven't booked him in a way that sets him up correctly for you know, the re-entry into the live crowd.
I'm not being funny though. Like he's never been rammed down our throats the way that Seth or Roman ever were.
Mm. No, I think fans are more fickle now than ever, but he is
Mm.
very just kind of like, yeah, we're good. Like he never says anything bad or, controversial. He's very much a WWE guy. And I think for whatever reason, fans think it's, cool to go, we hate WWE guys. We're, more fans of the heels or whatever.
And
So,
then let's all pop for John Cena though.
well, yeah. So who
Don't know what the
fucking
fuck he's
knows?
want to
Who
use.
knows what they're thinking? But yeah,
So
so I was a bit, yeah, I was a bit annoyed.
I take your point though. Like Edge was never going to win over Roman, and Roman's definitely really over at the minute. And the Drew thing, I don't get personally either, but he's still got plenty of time to win the title and be cheered. Like he just needs that break, doesn't he, for a while? But yeah, wasn't a bad match, Carl. Dare say for the main event of the night, it probably wasn't the best match though. In all fairness, I think you probably hit the nail on the head that Charlotte and Rhea might have even pipped this as a better match. In all fairness,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
And obviously, we saw the match end, and then we saw what did we see, Carl? Nothing,
Nothing.
because you can't see it.
Even
Oh, that old
even
joke.
Pat McAfee fucking popped me that night. He was like, because Cole was like, it's John Cena, and he was like, where? Like a
Right.
subtle thing about just like
Right.
yeah,
I'm
hilarious.
gonna get the let's be like John Cena. He's a company guy. He was the face of the company for such a long time. People love him. You know what? Fucking I love him. Right? It's always great to see him, and let's all pop. That's brilliant. But I'm gonna be slightly negative here and go. They brought him out with no involvement in anything at all, so that the crowd would pop. Oh,
Yeah.
and we can sell some merch because he's the merch machine. So here's a new shirt. Buy it, you fucking marks, right? So that's the negative side of me going, well, that was pointless. But by all accounts, they might be doing something with this.
Mm.
Like this isn't just John back for a pop. He's back for something. So I will retract my negative comments if we see him on SmackDown and they build towards something here. But
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna get from him because the last few appearances have been one and done match wise, isn't it?
I
So
mean, I feel like we're building towards Roman.
sorry, it cut out a little bit there. You just said building towards Roman from my angle.
Sorry, I feel like we're building towards Cena versus Roman.
Right. I don't think I'd mind that. I think it'd actually be a little bit of redemption because the last time we've had anything like that, everyone hated Roman. I think it'd be nice to see Cena versus Roman now they're both in the right place, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
The crowd doesn't really hate either at the moment. There was a point when the crowd really hated John and they hated Roman. John's been away enough that people miss him, and Roman's shit hot, white hot right now. So yeah, I think it's probably the right time to book something like that. In all fairness, and then
Do you know
Big
what?
E's gonna fucking ruin it.
It's going to be weird to have two guys that were, you know, these guys are, the future of the company. Everyone get behind them, and they were booed for so long, and then all of a sudden, the two of them are like potentially cheered, going into
Yeah,
like a main event. Like, yeah,
not seeing
madness.
it. Totally nutty. Do you know what, Cal? I don't know if we were giving ratings, but I'm going to. I've actually talked myself into a 4
Wow.
because I don't buy it. I still agree with my comments at the beginning. Like this wasn't like pay-per-view of the year, and this wasn't a 5 out of 5. This wasn't the best thing ever. People were slightly overhyped because of the crowds, but it was a solid pay-per-view and one of the best we've seen in a while from WWE. And I want to give it credit where credit's due. And I think everything hit on some level, and even the poor decisions we have potential because I've even talked myself into some potential with the Big E win. So I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I'll be fair and I'll give it a 4. It was a solid pay per view, not the best ever, but it was still a solid pay per view. I'm gonna go for a 4.
I can only give it a 4 as well.
Nice.
Yeah, in line with Dynamite for me. I think a return to form for WWE, long overdue, and yeah, appreciated. Please keep doing this shit.
Yeah,
It was
this
good.
is what we
This
want.
is what we want to
This
see.
shit right here.
Well, no, I think yeah, drastically better than anything they put out in months. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for me. Let's see how Raw performs this week. That's all I will say.
Yeah. If
Knowing
only
nothing, of course.
hopefully it holds up. It holds up well. With any luck.
Totes.
So that was Money in the Bank, guys.
That was it. We've been there. We've done that. We've won the money. It's not in our bank though, so that's a shame.
No.
But yeah, we're here. You've enjoyed several things as always. You've enjoyed the news. You've enjoyed what's going on in the world of wrestling, and then you've enjoyed our thoughts on Money in the Bank. Like
And
you're
of
so
course,
lucky. So
you
lucky.
always enjoy our soothing baritone. And as it is 12:30, midnight, we just want to wish you a good night.
I am
Relax.
too tired for this shit. Also, we are in the UK and it has been hot for the first time.
Yeah, and
like,
we don't do heat. For anyone who
heat.
spent any time in the UK, you'll understand this. We don't do
Global
heat very
warming
well.
is fucking real, man. I'm telling you. Global warming, it's real.
No. It's this is when we have to drink the ciders, and I know like over the other side of the pond, ciders isn't necessarily alcohol. We mean the alcohol.
Yeah.
Like you need to get the ciders out and sit in the garden with the paddling pool because British and all that.
And then have no sleep, the entire night because you're just like this.
Because we don't have air cons or anything because we're more cold than anything, so we have radiators and whatever.
Yeah.
Whole different world over here.
Whole different world. Well, speaking of whole different worlds, we'll be back next week to talk about a whole different world, probably. Probably.
New champions.
Yeah.
Crazy shit happening. Legends reappearing. Legends disappearing. Who knows?
Who fucking knows? And yeah, that's it. And now we will pass you over to these emphatic supporters of the show as we bid you a farewell.
Oh, you didn't know?
You're watching or listening
to A to the K.
The A2theK.
A2theK.
A2theK. A2theK.
A2theK.
These guys are awesome. Check it out.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.